So one of my favorite words in the entire English language is prognosticator. And I tend to do a lot of prognosticating, and the guests that I invite on the channel tend to do a lot of prognosticating, and every once in a while we get one right. So,
Every once in a while.
so tonight we want to congratulate you. About 2 weeks ago, apparently, I didn't even remember it because I hear so much all day long from both guests and everywhere else. But apparently, you kind of knocked it out of the park on your thinking about how the election would turn out. And you said,
Yeah, so 2 weeks ago I started talking about a possible Trump landslide, within, the ability for that to happen nowadays with the current political setup. And I talked about how Tesla stock, people were talking about how the Tesla stock would go down if Harris was the president-elect, but that it wouldn't go up if Trump won. And I saw that as a sign that people are overly bearish about the election, and shared that I thought that the stock would go up if Trump was elected,
and
or the president-elect.
right
And so I reiterated that last week, and
here, right on this show.
yeah. But I wasn't really surprised by the result, but I was a bit surprised by the magnitude of the result.
Mhm. Now
So
but you also, I thought maybe the most surprising thing was you said, I think, I didn't go back and look at it, so I'm just trusting your word on this. You said that he would win the popular vote.
yes, yeah, that I commented last week that it had been a long time since a Republican had won the popular vote, and I thought that he
2004.
would, that
2004.
Trump would win the popular vote. Yeah.
So what do you attribute the fact that he got the popular vote? What do you really think pulled him over the line? Or did you have a theory associated with your estimate, or was it just like a feeling?
Yeah, so it was seeing the different polling, and the difference between the polling this year versus where it was in 2020 and 2016.
Mhm.
Seeing that, seeing the early Republican voting where it was very strong in the early days, and people were comparing it to year by year. Seeing the plus minus in the swing states as well. Those were all things that gave me confidence to say that. But this guy that made this huge bet on Polymarket, like he went crazy on the research, and I love it. What he did was he polled people in the swing states and probably other places, and instead of just asking who they were going to vote for, he asked them, who is your neighbor going to vote for?
Wow.
And what they found psychologically is that some people will hide who they're voting for, but they'll say who they're really voting for when they speak about their neighbor.
Interesting.
And there's some kind of percentage that they can do this for, and be able to translate it and get close. So that's what gave this person, this millionaire in France, all this confidence to make these huge bets. And what's funny is, like, France is now going to censor betting on Polymarket.
Really?
So they're blocking French citizens allegedly from betting on Polymarket going forward,
That's
especially since someone, made a bunch of money betting on Trump.
Well, he bet 30 million and he said that it was like everything he had. It was all his liquid cash and or liquid, things that he could liquidate to do this. And then I saw a little while ago that he made 50 million. So he got back 80 for his 30.
Yeah, that seems a bit extreme because um I don't think he bought Trump at like 38 or 30 in order to win 100. So that seems that those numbers seem a little off, but like,
Maybe
yeah, he essentially doubled his money just about.
All right, interesting. Yeah, that was certainly wild. Well, I had my two theories. One was registration was up for Republicans pretty
Mhm.
dramatically. And then number two, and maybe more importantly, I think libertarians didn't vote for their libertarian candidate. They voted for Trump because one of the big arguments libertarians Warren
Warren Redlick.
Warren Redlick, I wanted to make his last name. Anyway, like Warren Redlick, one of their big arguments is always the two parties are just the same and there's no difference.
Right.
And I think that they could see the difference, and the RFK, et cetera, getting involved, I think got a lot of that.
The censoring on social media, the jailing of political opponents, something like a dozen Trump aides were jailed, and a lot of them were just for refusal to cooperate with the FBI or lying to investigators.
Right.
Which is what they got Martha Stewart for, by the
Exactly.
way.
Yes.
As a really good documentary on that. But and that was James Comey that threw Martha Stewart in jail and basically ended her empire.
Right. Well, she seems to be coming back fairly strongly. People really like her for some reason.
Yeah. Elon, though, let some secrets slip.
Ah,
Yeah, so he talked about helping to get the Amish to vote
right.
in Pennsylvania. So giving people rides in vans or buses. He said that they won't drive them, but they'll
Right.
ride in them.
Right.
So these are things that evidently Democrats have done for a long time that Elon, helped them out with their ground game.
Absolutely. I've said this over and over and over all week, actually, that Musk showing the Republicans how to do the ground game right is maybe one of the biggest reasons that we won the election, not necessarily that we got the plurality, I mean the absolute majority of popular vote, but that the Steel Belt or the Rust Belt, I think, really was all about Elon. I think Elon made it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's the potential for people to learn from this election, and it seems like, the first couple of days are very emotional reactions that people have. And, when you're blaming the voters, it's probably not the lesson you need to learn. When you're blaming Biden, when you went along with the whole Biden is fit for office thing, you went along with that for, a good 9 months when the writing was on the wall already. Like that's not the lesson to learn from this. And it's a little crazy to me to call white men sexist and racist when you don't really offer them much in the campaign. Like what good stuff did they offer white men
Yeah.
in the campaign? And Trump appealed more to uh, blue collar union types than what the Democrats were offering. And to just like not appeal to a huge swath of the populace is a little crazy to me. And I saw this really interesting map where they were showing all the heat maps for all the Amish folks, but also like there's pretty meaningful Mormon population in the West. Um,
Yes.
so yeah, I'm curious to see what lessons are learned from this and where things go from here. But I think people either get overly hopeful or overly fearful
Yeah.
about a particular president. So what I did today was I encourage people to journal a little bit about what you think is going to happen over the next 2 to 4 years and keep that somewhere where you can reference it in the future, just so you have a good gauge for, what you're being fed and what you're believing is going to happen.
Right. Well, speaking of what I believe is going to happen, I've noticed that Trump has already hit the ground running. He's already appointed his chief of staff, Susie Wiles, which would be the first strong and intelligent woman to ever hold that post, ever, at the White House. And oh, by the way, she also was the one running the campaign, which the second woman to run one of his campaigns, and only the first two women to ever run a campaign that won the White House.
And she's strong and intelligent.
I
In
think she
his
must
acceptance
be.
speech, Trump wanted her to come speak, and she knew that that wasn't the right thing, and she refused him multiple times. So she's a strong, intelligent woman that he listens to.
Apparently, apparently. Well, anyway, he's already also had in a phone and in-person meetings with Putin. I mean, not in person, rather planned uh, in-person meetings with Javier Milei tomorrow, I think it is. He's talked to Putin. He's talked to Xi. I mean, he's really hit the ground running. So I thought that
He's talked
given
to Zelensky. Yeah.
Zelensky, I thought that since he's hit the ground running so fast, I expect a lot of stuff to happen really, really soon, maybe even before he's elected. And because of your predictive capabilities, oh, Swami, I have a list of 10 things that I want you to make predictions about.
Oh boy. Oh boy. You put me on the spot, so we'll have to bookmark this video.
That's right.
All right, November 7,
That's right.
2024.
So Hamas has already said, we want peace. Now, of course, they still have stupid demands, but when will the ending, when
Was
will,
that true or fake?
no, they actually asked, they already have sued for peace. But again, it's the same, you know, uh, Israel just has to lay down, and stop fighting and
Mhm.
all the stuff that, they have all these qualifications. But anyway, Oswami, when will the fighting end in Israel? Now that Trump's in charge.
So, in Lebanon, the leader of Hezbollah said they want an attritional war with Israel. So I know that's different than Hamas.
Right.
Um, I yeah, I don't know what to believe coming from Hamas. I would say it's possible, but it sounds like Hezbollah wants to keep going.
So my estimate, so we'll have this to compare. My estimate is that that Hamas will lay down their arms before he takes office, officially on the 20th of January, that they will just they're not going to be interested in fighting both the entire United States with everybody on the same page and Israel at the same time, and they'll be like, okay, we've had enough. That's my feeling before he takes office. And he also,
Well,
he told them to do that. That's what he said today.
yeah.
You better have stopped the war before I take office.
Well, I understand, why you feel that way because Trump is a friend of Israel.
Yes,
Um,
serious friend.
Instead of just promising it, he moved the U.S. embassy from to Jerusalem
Right.
from Tel Aviv, and many other presidents promised that or refused to do it.
Decades. I think back to
Yeah, all the way back to World War II. Uh, Trump actually did it. So I could see why you feel that way. Um, I'd say it's possible. So I'm going to say it. There's at least a 1% chance of that happening. I'm not sure if it's 40% though. So I'll take the over.
We'll take the over. All right. When will we have a peace agreement in the Ukraine?
Wow. I don't know what Trump is going to do. Like he is a master negotiator. In front of Russia, he's going to threaten to give Ukraine a bunch of weapons if Russia doesn't accept certain demands. Ukraine doesn't want to let Russia have any of their territory. So they want to go back to the old territory before Russia took over the Donbass on their eastern side and took over huge swaths of their coastline.
Right.
Um, and Ukraine probably wants the return of their people. A lot of people were forcibly deported to Russia. Um, so Ukraine's list of demands is pretty high. I don't know if Trump will meet all those or what kind of stick he'll wield to um, give them latitude to like give up on some of their demands. Um, so peace by when? Um, I don't know. I'm a little skeptical. I think what I think about this, and it'll be a little controversial, is
Sure.
before Obama took office, he said he was going to close Guantanamo Bay.
Right.
But I think when these presidents get in
And-
office, they get one of these.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's a tap on the shoulder. So I'm not sure. Like, I'm a little skeptical that the U.S. wants the war to be resolved. I've just become a skeptic because all this military aid has been promised to Ukraine, but
Mhm.
we've literally only delivered maybe 10 to 20% of what's promised.
Mm, mm,
And that's been the choice of Biden.
mhm.
Um, so yeah, I'm a little skeptical. Sorry, I'm going slow through these answers here. You're making it hard on me.
So I say that at the very least, there will be a meeting between Zelensky and Putin uh, in January, before the end of the month. And that maybe there'll even be a ceasefire because they don't want to fight and slog it out in the winter in the Ukraine anyway. So, but it'll be very fast, very, very fast, and maybe peace before the rainy season which is even worse than the winter. I think that's around April, May when they have to slog through all that mud. So that's my theory, is that it'll be weather related, but it'll also be that Trump he's not going to take any quarter. It's going to be, he's going to tell Putin he's got to stop, and he's going to tell Zelensky, and then he's going to make them come to an agreement. It'll be very fast.
Yeah, the US has a lot of power. Russia's going to threaten nuclear war if US goes too far, but essentially the US could destroy Russia's forces conventionally very easily. The long range missile technology they have is just it's devastating, and the US has not even provided their best weapons to Ukraine.
Yeah. All right.
So,
Number three, we're going to have to speed this up or we'll never
all
get
right.
there. What day, well, okay, what period, what month will the border flow at the southern border reverse and have more people going south than coming north?
I heard this really interesting idea that um, essentially Trump could say, if you don't leave voluntarily, if you leave voluntarily, we'll give you a path to citizenship. But if we have to deport you, it's a no never, essentially. I think that's an interesting choice. And I just learned something today I didn't know. And I'm curious if it's true. People can leave in the comments. But allegedly, Obama deported 3 million people while he was president. And that's more than Trump deported.
I've never heard of that.
I never knew that. So,
Well, I had a lot of Mexican employees here in Southern California over my 30 years of running that manufacturing business. And they let me in on a little secret. When there's lots of jobs available in the United States, then the flow goes north.
mhm,
When the jobs dry up, everybody down in Mexico knows it. And South America, they all know it. They hear through the grapevine. There's no jobs. There's no reason to come. So then they
mhm.
stop coming. So it's partially due to the number of jobs that are available, which is why it was so huge during COVID, is because there was massive amounts of jobs available. So, but the other thing is what happens at the bully pulpit? What does the president say? Well,
Yeah.
the president's going to tell him, you better get the heck out of Dodge or I'm going to come for you. And anyway, he's going to say a lot of very strong words. And I think that the flow will reverse maybe before he takes office.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like you're coming out here like very excited. And I'd encourage you to journal what you think is going to happen over the next two
There it is.
years.
It's going to
We're
be
kind of
perfect.
doing it right here. But what I would say is like already we're seeing some other things happen. I don't know what agency it was, but allegedly a report about fluoride in our water just
Yeah,
came out from the federal government. Like they were just sitting on it.
right.
And now now that RFK Jr. might be in the FDA, they're finally releasing it. The other thing we saw is Jack Smith is just going to back off the Trump sentencing. So, like, even though he got the guilty verdict, they're not going to sentence Trump,
Right.
and they're just going to totally drop it all. So, like, things are starting to happen already. It's pretty wild.
So number four, when will Jeff Bezos go full MAGA?
I, f- I feel like the billionaires should get on board for the most part. I could see Bezos doing it. I don't see Gates doing it. Um, just because there's some strange things going on there that I don't want to get into. But
Right.
um, yeah, I could see it potentially happen with Bezos.
Number five, when does FSD become unsupervised?
So I'm sticking to next summer.
Next summer, okay. And
Yeah.
does it have anything to do with Trump winning? Will that speed up the process, as many pundits are saying today, that this is the biggest reason that they're increasing their price targets is because of the fact that this will speed through the regulatory process.
I'm shaking my head because Wall Street analysts, they like to leave stuff out of their models. And then when the price goes up, they can just add it in as an excuse and raise their price targets. So I feel like this is more of an excuse. They don't need a federal rule to roll out autonomous driving.
Right.
They can do it in Texas and Florida now if they want. I think they'll focus on Texas and California because that's where Tesla's campuses are.
Well, and plus they have all the cars here, and a
Yeah.
million by the summer it'll be 1,500,000 Teslas in California. So that's a pretty good reason to get it here.
The hard thing in all this is there's going to be limited things they could do without a super majority in the Senate that Republicans can do. So they're going to have to pick and choose what they really want to get through because the Democrats can filibuster, because the Republicans don't have a super majority.
Right.
Um, so what they try and pass legislatively through the House may be tricky. I'm guessing they might be able to pass some rules at I don't know if it would be NHTSA perhaps
Mhm, mhm.
as far as autonomous driving at a federal level.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I wonder if they could do some rule making there.
I had
It's a
recommended
possibility.
I had recommended this. I actually wrote the bill. And I put it up on. I wrote the bill. It's a two-paragraph bill. It just says if you have a car that you want to use as a robotaxi, it has to be able to. You have to be able to prove, and you have to do the proof because NISTA can't. How they
Hmm.
get the miles. So it's a one of these self-providing proofs that you can do at least 500,000 miles without an accident. If you can prove that, you can start running your robotaxi service. So that's the basic idea for the bill. So and then also part of the bill would be that the states can write less, they can make a rule where it is less onerous than that, but not more onerous.
I like it.
Okay, all right. So number six, when will Gary Black raise his price target to all-time high?
Like above an all-time high of like 420 a share.
And for whatever it was. Yeah, he's at 300 right now.
Yeah, when Tesla unveils a lower price car, like I think Gary likes that idea. And I would tend to agree that that's might be what we do see early next year is a lower price three and or Y.
Okay, all right. The left, number seven, the left figures out, when will the left, we talked about this a minute ago, when will the left figure out that real men are not happy with being disrespected?
Never. Like, let's insult the people we want to vote for us. I don't think that's a good strategy.
Not a good strategy. Number 8, how big will Elon's first across the board cut in government headcount be? Will it just be no new hires? Will it be a 10% cut in overall headcount, a 20% cut? What will be I believe that's the first thing you'll do. That's maybe you don't. Maybe you think it'll be something else, but I think it'll just be across the board headcount.
So people may not remember this. When Trump was elected, there was this whole resistance.
Yes, I
It
agree.
wasn't just people in the streets, it was people staying in federal agency to slow down Trump
Right,
and to resist him from within.
right.
Um, yeah, I don't think that's going to be allowed to happen again. Um, so the problem is like Elon likes these really small teams of A players and rock stars.
Right.
And I know I'm generalizing here, so I don't mean to offend any government workers. But I'm guessing like the A players and rock stars don't tend to desire most to work for the government.
Right.
They tend to want to be in technology or in private industry. Um, so I would say there'd be a risk in cutting like 75%.
Right.
Um, but I think possibly you cut half and then see if things stop working.
So an actual across the board. So all agencies, whatever it is, doesn't matter. IRS, Social Security, a 50% cut across the board as a starting point.
I don't think it'd be even between the agencies. Some might be more, some might be less.
Okay. But he
Like
likes,
there's some things, this might be controversial. I'm trying not to be, but like the National Weather Service, like
yes,
there's already private companies that are
doing a great.
very accurately predicting the weather.
Yeah.
So it doesn't need to come from the National Weather Service. So like you might be able to do like a very high percentage or like totally get rid of that.
Yeah.
Um, so IRS, it sounds scary to do more than 50%. Yeah, I wonder if some of the agencies could work smarter, but to totally change over to technology in 2 years isn't realistic.
Right. 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 Okay. Will Trump do a 60%? Will he hold to his 60% across the board China tariffs? She already mentioned today that he kind of hinted at the fact that, come on, we have to work together here. Do you think he'll hold to 60% or will it be far more nuanced?
I I'm an economics major, and what I learned is like tariffs are generally not a good thing for the consumer. It tends to raise prices for the consumer. Um, and it's worse for middle class and folks who are poor because their their prices go up more, much more, and they don't have like extra savings and income like the upper class does to afford the higher prices. Um, I think it's where it's headed. So I
So
think I think you have a good number there. Yeah.
I don't want to have a fight with your professors, but I can tell you as somebody who's been in import export since I've been 20,
Okay.
21 years old, my entire life, starting with Germany, then going to China and Taiwan and Japan, and I've imported and exported pretty much across the world. I can tell you that when the value of the dollar goes up or down, which obviously impacts it, it's like the tariff. The value of the dollar
Mm.
changing, it's just like a tariff. Or when you have a tariff or some new duty or something like that that comes in, or when the price of the containers go triple like they did or quadruple like they did during COVID, people adjust. It isn't,
Hmm.
it's not like, oh, I have a 60% tariff on this product now. I'm just going to keep importing it. I'm going to walk into my buyer and tell my buyer at Kmart and or no, they don't exist anymore at Walmart. I'm going to go to my buyer at Walmart and say, "Well, I have to charge you 60% more." And Walmart says, "Oh, okay." And then Walmart says, "Well, yeah, I'll take that 60% increase." And they put it out on the shelf, and the consumer goes, "Oh, okay, I'll pay that." That's not how it works. So everybody along the chain all gets involved in what do we do differently now? The
Hmm.
Walmart may say, "Well, I'll buy from a domestic supplier, or I'll buy from somebody that's exporting or making it in Vietnam instead of in China because they don't have the same tariff." Or the manufacturer in China says, "Well, I can do with a little less. I don't have to charge you quite as much so that I'll eat some of this tariff." So there's a whole bunch of things up and down the line that happen that don't necessarily mean that that 60% gets moved through to the other end of the buying system. So anyway, so you think that there's a good chance though that a 60% tariff on products out of China, something like that, is within a likely potential.
Yeah. And I was actually thinking about this on the way home that it's effectively a carbon tax. So China pollutes a lot more when they make their goods.
Here than we do.
A lot, even though they're doing a great job in adding solar and other clean energy, um, very high percentage of their power comes from coal.
Well, they're adding a lot of coal.
Yeah, they are adding a lot of coal. And if you do a 60% tariff on China, effectively that's a carbon tax in your, um, yeah, it's interesting idea.
Okay. And last one, will Main Street businesses and working class Americans see a difference by next summer? Because they are the ones that are hurting. High tech, big companies, they're doing fine. People that make more than 100,000 a year are doing fine. It's the folks that aren't making 100,000 and the folks that don't have assets and the folks that have small businesses, they're the ones that are hurting. Will they see a difference by next summer, or will it take till the fall, or will they see a difference at all?
Yeah, if some big changes happen right away, I'd expect it to be at least a year. And I base that off of just me watching the whole Chat GPT thing and how quickly people adopt and adapt to things.
Mhm.
Um, so I know businesses will kind of be forced to adapt right away, but they won't be able to.
Mhm.
They'll take some time to adapt. So I'm guessing it might take a little longer than a year.
All right. So going back to our conversation about the price target for Tesla, Sawyer Merritt says the Bank of America raised its Tesla price target by 32% to $350 from 265 with a buy rating. And then analyst John Murphy, he said that because of the federal regulation of autonomous vehicles and full self-driving nationwide, they were going to raise, and he's with CFRA, they're going to raise their number to 375 from 265 and upgraded the stock to a buy after the election. So we've tried to hit 300 a day. What do the people at Rebellion Air think? Are we going to be in the 350 to 375 range anytime soon?
I think it's gonna struggle to get there soon. My guess, this is like very short term, likely to be wrong. Um, so tomorrow would be the third day of reaction to the election news.
Mhm.
So we could see a top potentially tomorrow morning. Um, so my guess is it punches through 300 tomorrow morning. This is not financial advice or trading advice. This is just me thinking about it. And but I'm wondering if this time is different. And the reason I say that is um the Elon Musk Joe Rogan interview.
Right.
Elon Musk on the campaign trail in front of all these people and people seeing the videos of him speaking and getting a sense of how he answers questions, how he thinks, and then thinking, maybe I should look into Tesla. So I'm I'm wondering if Tesla gets some new customers from this, and I'm also wondering if Tesla gets some new shareholders. Now, I'm going to warn you though, we do have clients who are diversified. They're not rebellionaires. They're not like have a concentrated position in Tesla. We do have clients who are diversified and not in that category. And we are getting calls where people are pre-deciding before they come talk to us that they want us to sell all their Tesla stock
Oh,
because Elon got
oh,
involved
I
in
see.
politics and they
Yeah,
don't like the result.
yeah, yeah. Interesting. Yeah, so we
But
could,
Tesla is losing some shareholders
right.
too. And we're also seeing other clients where it's not necessarily about Tesla, but it's every 4 years I have clients who want to do this. And I've been doing this for 19 years, so I've seen a few elections.
Right.
And if the person gets into office who they don't like, then they're tempted to sell everything.
Wow.
Um, so there's this push and pull, and I wonder if all the new people that are coming to Elon's banner, if they're going to overwhelm, and we'll see a longer reaction or a longer run up in the Tesla stock. So that's just kind of how I'm thinking about it short term.
Got it. Got it. Interesting. All right. And I agree with you, by the way, in terms of the visibility. You cannot have that kind of visibility and not have it have an impact. He's appeared to be very likable on stage. People seem to have really genuinely liked his presentations and got a lot of applause and interest. So I think that has to, based on spending my entire life in advertising and promotion, I think that has to have an impact on both, as you point out.
And in Trump's acceptance speech, which
Yes.
was short by Trump standards, I think is maybe 22 minutes or so. He spoke for a good 5 minutes about Elon and SpaceX, and essentially said he was a national treasure, that he's a genius and needs to be protected. I believe he used the word protected.
Yes, he did.
I think Elon should be championed. I know people don't like his politics necessarily, or he's weird and different.
Some
He
don't.
doesn't think like us. He's a bit of an alien, but he is the foremost innovator of our time, and we should support that.
So do you think, I've had a couple of people say to me that just the fact that he was in the picture of the family, basically, I mean, it was, this picture,
Yeah, it's very strange. There's this picture of the Trump family,
right?
and there's Elon and his boy, and um, Dana White wasn't in that picture, right?
I don't think
So
so.
it's just a Trumps and Elon. There was no RFK either. That was pretty interesting.
Yeah, so basically, that's a metaphor for Trump's position in this situation. And well, it should be, in my opinion. But he now is, to me, he's almost like a second vice president. He is so much a part of the inner circle as to be almost inextricable, from that inner circle because of what he did to help the president get elected, and because of again his genius and his ability. Really, I think is people. I don't think understand that his personality is extremely affable and that people like being around him. So, based on my research at least. So I think that there's a part of this where I think investors as well as others will be looking at him as the second, third most powerful person on the planet right now, next to Trump and his wife. No, I'm sorry, JD.
Mhm.
So, so I think that's going to impact people short term and long term in terms of taking a second look at the company as well as the products.
Yeah, and I know there's probably some Tesla shareholders out there that are worried about Elon being distracted, but these things are fun for Elon. Like, um, even though it's a lot of it's serious, it's also like a game. Elon loves doing this. He loves solving problems. He loves getting the first principles and figuring out what's most important. He thought that Pennsylvania was the most important part of this election. It turned out Trump, carried all the swing states. We don't know how much the America PAC helped out with all the swing
Yes,
states. It's possible
yes,
there's more, but like Elon really focused on Pennsylvania. He got out that significant Amish vote,
right.
and um, he did that speaking too. So even if he does spend some time consulting with Trump on, how to make these changes, I don't think it's going to detract significantly from Tesla or SpaceX.
Yeah,
And there could be some hidden synergies that people aren't thinking about.
yeah, I'm expecting Vivek to be given a cabinet post. And I think Trump will be heading up a commission where he's unpaid, and the commission will have several, maybe even a Bezos. There'll be
Mhm.
several people on this commission, maybe a half a dozen people on the commission who will then be coming up with the ideas and working with Vivek. And Vivek, of course, will then execute on the ideas downstream. That's what I'm anticipating. I could be completely wrong, but I think that's roughly how it'll work. And so it's not going to take that much of his time. He probably won't spend as much time as he does playing Diablo. I mean, if you're in the top 10 of all humans in the world on Diablo, it takes a bit of time to do that.
That's right.
So,
Yeah, we forget, Trump's a great businessman. His sons and sons-in-laws are all business people. JD Vance is a venture capitalist,
right,
and as you said, Vivek Ramaswamy is a business owner, multiple businesses, I
right,
believe.
right.
Um, so yeah, I know they don't do things the same way Elon does, but I think it could be translated.
Yeah, and I think we might see a couple of the all in podcast boys on that commission. David and Shamath both are huge fans and raised a lot of money for Trump. So I wouldn't be
Mhm.
surprised if they don't end up on that commission. Both again, brilliant guys with tons of capability. Last question for today. We are about a month away from first articles out of your favorite place in the world, the Mega Factory in Shanghai. Will that be,
Ooh.
huh?
I said, ooh.
Ooh. Will that be a nothing burger for the stock with all this other stuff going on? Or once they are actually shooting a few mega packs out the back door, will that have some kind of an impact? Since it's going to be the equivalent in profit of more than a more than a car factory.
Yeah, y- the early production, yeah, maybe starting very soon. But evidence of it may take a few months for us to see. Um, I, I might be wrong, but I feel like the whole drone situation has been clamped down in China.
Yeah,
So we don't get drone videos like we used to in China. I could be wrong.
I think that's
Um,
correct.
yeah, so we may not know about it until Tesla decides to tell us, or some kind of other word leaks about it. Maybe we need to find a Bradford Ferguson to hang out at the Mega Pack factory in Shanghai for a week.
That shouldn't be that hard. Maybe we can make that happen. All right. All right. I think that's the entirety of everything I want to talk about. Did I miss anything? Are you passionate about something that I didn't bring up?
Yeah, if anyone hasn't seen the Joe Rogan interview with Elon Musk, especially you need to watch minutes 11 to 45. They talk about the takeover of X and um, the amount of misinformation and censorship. They talk about the backdoor the FBI had into X, and things around the health crisis. Just the amount of lying that's been happening and the hoaxes,
Yeah.
and hoaxes that have were perpetrated up till last week, even by Barack Obama, which was kind of nutty. So owe it to people to watch that and just think about, um, if we didn't have X as a social media platform, I think we'd be relegated to message boards, and I don't want to go back to message boards. I don't want to go back to that. I know there's some good ones out there, but um,
Was that you or somebody else that said on X today that you're going to take some of your time? Was that you saying, I'm going to go out and start convincing my friends and family to get on to X as their news source? Somebody said that today. I can't remember
yeah,
if
that wasn't me, but
that.
that's a number of people. Yeah, you can't be getting it from Facebook or YouTube, or you have to be like really careful on YouTube. You can
Just
kind of
my channel.
control,
Just my channel. Just
yeah, you can kind of control what YouTube shows you, but it takes some work, and I think most people don't want to do that. So then YouTube just keeps showing you the same stuff, and it
yeah.
doesn't expose you to contrarian ideas or criticisms of the ideas that you're looking at. So I like the idea of more people being exposed to X.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's a very good idea, and I am, like you, very happy that Elon made that decision. And I think there's a very good chance that winning this election could be the thing that pops the valuation of X back into the, close to what he paid for it.
Yeah, I'm not smarter than Elon, but if I was Elon, I would go all in on getting like a video homepage for X, and uh, bare minimum for creators who do post videos, where it kind of aggregates the videos together so you can kind of go through them like a podcast. Also doing the same for Twitter Spaces, where all the spaces are together in one place, especially by creator. Having a better discovery around videos and audio, I think has to be a tremendous push, because there's a huge opportunity, and it it may not be correct, but it feels like podcasts and long form videos on YouTube did make a difference in the election.
Oh, there's no doubt in my mind. I've already stated several times, I believe that we've ended the era of television and TV debates with regard to politics. It's over. There's the famous you know one sentence statement that's going to tell you everything you need to know about a candidate. That's over. That's done. And future candidates, if they can, just like future candidates after Kennedy Nixon, if you weren't good looking enough, you were not going to be a candidate, or you're not going to win. You had to have presence. You had to have presence on television. You had to be a good enough presence on television in order to get through the debates. Well, that's now going to be, you're going to have a good enough ability to do long form interviews, or you're not going to be in the running.
I got one last thing.
Oh
The
yeah,
the fork.
yeah.
Elon is the fork of destiny.
The fork of destiny. There
The
you
fork
go.
of destiny. He's the fork in the road.
I know he's put one of those up in Austin, right?
Yeah, but his leadership, leaders are, you're sticking your neck, you're doing something that a lot of people won't like, and Elon figures out what's important, and he's a leader on many issues, and I'm personally forever grateful for Elon, even if somehow he disappoints me in the future. And I think he's a national treasure, and almost like a miracle
Almost like.
um, for us. He's just an amazing leader with tremendous energy and passion, and yeah. Very thankful.
As am I. Absolutely right. Well said. Yes. All right.
With
Then
that, let's get to the
we
numbers.
will get to the numbers, and I will let you go so that you don't have to do that. Thank you so much for being on as always.
Yep.
Bye for now. All right. So speaking of numbers, let's get into those numbers. So Bradford Ferguson, you heard it here first. He believes we'll break through 300 tomorrow. He says he'll probably be wrong. Just like I, commonly am. I'm sure that you would agree with me. But what we're looking at here, interestingly, is we're back in the after hours on Tesla to 298.88. So after being at 299, I think what was the high? 299.74 during the day. We're back to 298.89 in the after hours. So breaking through 300 tomorrow certainly looks like it's a real possibility. Now that, and you've heard my opinion, I think if you've listened earlier, part of that's just the overall exuberance of the market itself. The macro is very exuberant right now, so it's going to help lift all boats, including Tesla. Part of that is, in fact, I think this closeness that Elon has with the president of the United States going forward, which can't hurt. It can only help. And part of it is just, as people have pointed out, we're almost there anyway. If none of this was happening, we would still be so close to the Juniper, the Generation 2.5, the new factory in Shanghai starting, and the FSD being unsupervised. All those things are so close now that the stock might be doing this anyway or close to at this time. All right. Oh, not to mention, of course, the possibility of a nice beat in the fourth quarter. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look at the overall market, which was up. The NASDAQ was up 285 today, with the Dow about flat, 59 cents, down 59 cents. And the S&P up 44, nice and strong. The Magnificent Seven all up, and the Cathie Woods mixed, but mostly up and mostly strongly up. All right, let's go ahead and look at what is happening now. And as always, we'll start with the bonds. And what we have there is the 10-year during the day did drop back down to 4.345. It had been almost up to 4.5. It's now back to 4.345. It is up barely in the after hours pre-market. Technically, the pre-market is up. Why do they call the one the pre-market and the other one after hours? Anyway, it's up 0.2%. So basically flat. The 2-year up down 1.2%. So that's continuing to drop. And the 3-month up 0.8. The 2-month up 3.9. So that's quite a move. But even with that, it is only 25 basis points difference between the 2-month and the 10-year now, down from 150 not that long ago. All right, let's go ahead and look at oil, which had backed off last time I looked. Yes, but not much. Down 18 cents. So we're still sitting at $72 for Texas Intermediate, 75.5 for Brent. Natural gas up 0.37%, back up to 2.70. In the pre-market, we've got gold had popped back up all the way to 27. It's now 27.14, up 8.80 in the pre-market. Long way to go to get back over 2,800 again, but it is moving in that direction. Silver, similar, almost following, up 0.41% at almost 32, but it's a few percentages away from getting back to 34, much less 38. It's true all-time high. Copper at 4.42 at this point. It's a good number, down a little bit in the pre-market. The buck up against the yen, 0.11, down against the euro, 0.138. I think that's the opposite of what happened during regular trading. Bitcoin, which has been all over the place, but had hit all-time highs. I think it is very close right now. It's up 153 for the day at 76,114. Let me take a second to look in and see if that, whoops, that did not do it. So that wasn't helpful at all. Here we go. Yes, all-time high, 76,121. There you go. I thought it might be. That is the truth. By the way, speaking of crypto, you're going to want to see the program tomorrow with Cern Basher, talking about Bitcoin actually specifically. What a show tomorrow. Absolutely amazing stuff. I promise you, you don't know what Cern is going to be talking about tomorrow. It will inform you in ways I'm sure that will be very, very interesting to you. Okay. Pre-market right now for the equities barely changed. Dow up 8 or 0.02. S&P up 75 cents or 0.01. And the NASDAQ up 25 cents, which turns out to be 0.00 something. I'm not sure what. All right, but the pre-market, and actually the NASDAQ just went negative a tiny bit. So there you have it. No real directionality with regard to the equities tomorrow morning, but directionality specifically with regard to Tesla moving back up towards that 300 number. We'll see if it follows through in the morning. All right, so what do we got? Tomorrow morning, regular programming. Cern Basher, as I just mentioned, but Cern was also on earlier today. I'm going to put that card right up here. I did screw up. I messed up on the first video. You might have looked at that one and then gone, oh, we've already seen that one, Randy. Yes, I know. I messed it up. I put up the right video. Don't forget to go back and look at that. Here's the card. It was, as always, Cern did an amazing job, and you're going to want to check it out. It was well worth your time. Okay, is that it? Yeah, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. It's been great, as always, talking to you today.